We're both here.
Yeah, we are.
We're not even going to finish the intro thing.
That was rather abrupt.
You know, apparently we got a thumbs down already.
You're kidding.
YouTube. I don't know.
On YouTube?
Don't know. Don't care.
Yeah, but I feel like that's someone who probably knows us just being a dick.
I mean, maybe. Whatever. I don't care. The internet gives the a platform for too many assholes.
Yeah. Maybe people just don't like us. Maybe
I don't know.
Maybe we'll be like Howard Stern, where the majority of the people that listen hate him, but they still give him ratings because they have to hear what he has to say.
If I'm that, I guess, important in someone's opinion, then I feel bad for them.
Yeah. All right.
If the things I say on the internet are something someone has to tune into because they can't stand what I have to say, then whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So
whatever.
Right. So
are
we gonna keep starting like 2 and 3 minutes early? Because I made sure I was at least 4 or 5 minutes early because I knew you were gonna start early. Is this gonna be like the new MO?
Well, I mean, if you're here and we're going, then I figured like if I see you pop in down there while the intro is rolling, I was like, let's just get it over with. Let's just do it.
Fair enough. Welcome to the show, everybody.
Yes, episode 73. Brought to you by Puget Sound Pythons, who you can see right up here in the corner. I did some little rearranging here of our layout, so it's a little less cluttered.
It looks good.
But I need to add to it real quick. There we go.
There it is.
Yeah, so Puget Sound Pythons, check them out. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. They're right here in the chat. They hang out with us every week. They help supply us with the cigars that we bring to the show each week. So, speaking of which, Herrera Esteli Maduro.
Miami.
I always forget how good these are.
Yep.
Every time I smoke one, I'm like, man, I need to smoke more of these. And then I end up not smoking more of them. And then I smoke one more randomly, and I'm like, man, these things are good. And I just dropped my cutter in the trash can with a bunch of ashes. So that's nice. Now I get to. I don't. You think if I wash that off, you think that'll rust?
What? The blade?
Yeah.
Just oil it.
No, I mean, what do you mean?
Well, when you get metal like that's in the raw, and you put water to it or moisture to it, you dry it, and then you put an oil to prevent it from rusting.
And now I have to wash it off because it's all covered in ash.
I mean, I would just get like one of those little cans of air, like those keyboard air duster cans.
Yeah.
I would just blow it out,
I don't know. I dropped it in the trash can. Felt like an idiot.
I mean, I would be more concerned with like, food particulates on there, That's gross.
So Johnny said, I'm currently sitting in on the first base side of the Padres game with a beer cracked and sticks and Stogies in my ear.
That's awesome.
Paradise.
That's super cool, man. And it's live. Both of them. He's watching the game and listening. It's live.
Oh.
Live.
What are you smoking upon?
Tonight, we're going with one of the old faithfuls, the Ashton VSG. Never a dull stick. So it was recently brought to my attention that I guess when I'm looking directly in the camera, like when we do this show, I'm looking at the comments on the side, I'm pulling up photos, I'm checking messages from people, private messages, and people are sending me stuff, and trying to finagle so that we can share the photos live and all that. But I guess when I look directly at the camera, I have crazy eyes. And I'm a little self-conscious about it now, to be brutally honest. And then I also realized, like, when Casey Cannon and I went out herping, he took a couple pictures of me with some snakes that we found, and they're good pictures. But the problem is, I look like this. So I gotta figure out how to change my face.
Change your face. I'm going to change it for you.
Yeah, right? I'm actually, as much as I love my Ashton, I'm jealous of your Blue Label Miami. I got to get more of that.
You probably have a lighter that actually has fluid in it. So.
I do. I have more
I
juice.
literally have 4 sitting here with me. So. Bound to have one with some life in it.
Jeff says, embrace it, Phil. Or Kendra. I don't know which one it is. But hello, everybody who's joining us. We're getting a very casual start tonight. I kind of like it. I love the new background.
So I figured since a bunch of our fellow snakes and Stogieyites,
Stogians,
are going to Daytona, that I'd put together a Daytona Snakes and Stogies sampler for the people. If you're going to Daytona, you can just pick it up at the show, and then you have something to smoke while we're there.
Yeah.
And then if anybody wants to buy it who isn't going to Daytona, they can still grab one. So just have to figure out what exactly that will be, what that will entail. But yeah, it seems like a pretty solid idea to me.
I feel like we should do...
We're now Gendra.
Gendra. I love that. I'm totally using that from now on. Dustin says stalagmites. Stalagmites, yes. So I think that the Daytona sampler should be something that is beachy and vacation-y. You know, I feel like we should really put a little thought into this.
Isn't every cigar vacation-y?
Nah, I don't know. Some of them are just to cap off the day, you know?
It's a little mental vacation.
I'll tell you what. So the past 3 or 4 Snakes and Stogies, I have not had an alcoholic beverage. And I was like, I had a long day. I'm going to have an adult cocktail. And I went to go pour my rum. And that's the last of it. It was very sad, very depressing. So.
No, only a whole glass.
It's not a whole glass. It's like 2.5 fingers.
Dude, that's like 4 fingers.
It's forced perspective, right? Forced perspective. Look at how big my bass fish is. What are you drinking?
Bang.
As always, my man. So
I need it.
You need it. So I redid the intro to Venomous Etiquette videos. And for those that care to watch this, whether it be live or after the fact, if Justin, if you're all right with it, I'd like to throw the intro up there because
do it.
I want to get people's opinion of it.
I don't know if they'll get the audio or not.
Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to unplug my headphones and it'll just play out the speakers. The music is extremely, well, you know what? Yeah, I'll just say it. The music is very drab. And I was kind of going for like a Schindler's List kind of, you know, like very serious, very monotone, you know, which, excuse me, hindsight, I don't want to do that. I want it to be more uplifting. I want it to be more adventurous. You know, I want stories of, you know, Theodore Roosevelt in Africa and ancient taxonomists and that kind of thing. So let me pull it up real quick. And you guys can, you know, Snakes and Stogies fans can see it firsthand before it airs anywhere else.
And Jeff, I am sending you the template to those cards right now. I watched some Carpets and Coffee this morning, hung out with the guys, played some MTG on my computer while I listened, and got on the topic of record keeping and stuff. And I sent Eric and Lucas the cards I use, which you saw. So Jeff, I'm sure I'll go ahead and tell you this instead of typing it all up, but these are basically, they are double-sided. I get them printed on a slightly thicker cardstock. I don't know exactly what to compare it to. Phil's had his hands on them. He might be able to tell you, but get them on with that heavier cardstock. They seem to hold up better, you know, with getting wet and stuff. And then they're about the size of a 5x7, maybe slightly larger. Yes, MTG, Magic, The Gathering. Yeah, they got the MTG Arena on, so you can play it on your computer now. The previous like digital versions outside of Magic Online were horrible, but this one's actually really good. So you can download it for free. It's pretty sweet. And get it on your phone too, but it's easier on my old man eyes to play on the computer. So my cardboard crack. I've been clean from physical Magic for a couple of years now, but digital Magic's a different story. So yeah, the cards are, like I said, slightly larger than a 5x7, slightly thicker cardstock. All the information is like right at the top as far as like sire, dam, hatch weight, all that good stuff. So it's pretty nice. Yeah, Cox has some. Henry, if you have it and you did it through Epic Games, I need to get your username so I can smoke you.
All right, so here it is, and like I said, ignore the music because yeah, it's gonna change.
Put some Bone Thugs and Harmony on there, dude. More like corn cob. Did you shoot that with your phone?
Yeah.
Did you put like a filter on it or something? It looks really sharp. I mean, iPhone cameras, I will not lie, as much as I do not like Apple's phones, their cameras on their phones are pretty legit. Damn, Jeff said, whose funeral? Oh.
Well, there you have it. That's the first opinion.
What do you want to change it to?
Like I said, I want old, the adventure of taxonomy. I want, old
the Indiana
dude.
Jones theme, bro.
Yeah, well, that's difficult and they're expensive. So
Toad Ranch, hello. They've got good cages.
Nice. I'm pleased with the videography of it. I just need to fix the music, and I worked really, really hard on that music too. I had to like splice violins and cellos and shit together.
Jeez.
And it would be great if it was a morbidly depressing, Holocaust movie or something. But we definitely need to go with something a little more upbeat and a little more adventurous. Tales of the lands of high adventure. So.
But the sound of a Florida crackhead just screaming off in the distance.
I don't think they had crackheads in like the 1890s. So. Is that what they sound like? I've heard some crackheads. They don't sound like that. So yeah,
here just say, "Hey man, do you have $1?"
Yeah. Well. Let me know what you guys think about the intro.
I agree with you. Having like slightly more upbeat, slightly more.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll send you the. Well, have you checked any websites? Like, have you looked at any royalty? Because YouTube has like a whole free music library that you can use of royalty-free music. Some of them you have to give credit. Some of them you don't.
Right. And I'm actually looking at, Burke sent me a couple things that he uses for a lot of his music, and I have no problem paying for like those royalty-free subscriptions or whatever. The problem is there's so many of them, and I've been listening to a lot of everything just to kind of figure out which one I'm going to subscribe to. You know what I mean?
The problem with those is if you only need one song, it ain't worth having to pay like a subscription for, because then you end up paying $30 for a single 10-second track or 20-second track.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I just ashed everywhere. I'm like a hot mess tonight, dude.
You are a hot mess. No, and that's the thing is I wanted to find a subscription website that I could use for everything. I mean, if we wanted to use it for some of this stuff, and we wanted to use it for podcast stuff, if we wanted to use it for, I mean, anything we do, and I figured that most of them are relatively inexpensive, $20, $30 a month, whatever it is. I just didn't want to subscribe to 6 different ones, so I'm still working on that stuff. And when I had a bunch of footage set up for the next episode, and I wound up not scrapping it, but realizing that I want to film it in a different way. So I'm back at the drawing board, and I want to apologize to everyone who's been excited to see whatever I've got coming up next. But it'll be coming out. I don't want to half-ass it. I want it to be nice. I want it to be good.
I mean, at the same time, you don't overthink it and put too much time and stuff into it. Just find a spot where you're content and get her done.
Right. Yeah. Well, like for example, that intro, it honestly took me about an hour and a half to 2 hours to make that. But I've also been spending countless 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, being like, oh, I could do this. Oh, I could do that. Oh, look, I found an entire website that just has sound effects of pages turning, like, and I'm like, why am I going down this rabbit hole? So, but I'm having fun with it, and hopefully people will like it when it's done. But I figured people can look at it there and on here and tell me what you think. And if it sucks, let me know. Be honest.
Definitely doesn't suck. Like I said, it's just finding that track.
Yeah, right. So, how is
some light jazz?
Maybe.
Cocktail jazz.
Maybe.
Some Coltrane.
Yeah, maybe we get some Art Blakey in there.
Miles Davis.
Art Blakey, some Jazz Messengers, maybe. That might work.
Peeing your pants is cool. Then I'm Miles Davis.
Some B.B. King. If I was the mayor, everyone on their birthday would get brand new shoes.
What's happening? What's been going on over the last week down there in the mouth of the rat?
The mouth of the rat. Since Casey Cannon had taken his little trip down here, and we did a lot of herping. a lot of herping.
That would be hilarious if it was just her laughing.
Oh, Gendra. So I actually have some pictures from Casey and I herping if you guys want to see them. Because contrary to what people think, we did find snakes. I promise.
I think we talked about those on Thursday because we did our little surprise live stream, remember?
Oh, that's right. We did. And I showed the legless lizard and all that. That's right. Okay. So, yeah, did a bunch of that. Went out again last night with some friends they're not herpers, but they like to get out and about. Found some great Palm Beach County corn snakes. And Palm Beach County corns always bother me because they're gorgeous looking animals. They're always in great shape. They never have scars. They never have ticks, but they can't pick a color. It's honestly what you'd expect. It's a hybrid between your traditional Southern corn and the Miami. So the orange, the orange isn't bright orange. It's like meh, but the grays and the slate tones, they're also not like gray and slate and contrasting. They're like the opacity is low. You know what I mean?
Miamis for people who don't like Miamis. It's Okeetees for people who don't like Okeetees.
Exactly. And to be honest, I think what would really, really make them better is if the checkerboard belly was more defined. They have a lot of modeling and a lot of flecking in the belly. Actually, here, I'll just show you a picture.
Yeah, I was saying, please.
Yeah.
Please do.
Let's just share this.
I'm glad Mike and Billy Jenkins enjoyed the herping live streams because those drive me absolutely bananas.
I know. You still owe me a clip, by the way.
Oh, that's right.
You do owe me a clip. Yeah.
It's just like then I got to pull up GarageBand. I got to go find the file, bring it back up, try and remember where I had the timestamp for the clip, and then flip it and export it, bring it up in Alphonic, bring up the graphic.
3.5 minutes. 3.5 minutes of your life while you're bored at work, please.
You mean 5 minutes.
Oh, a whole 5 minutes. I think you could do it. So, forgive these cell phone photos and washed out car headlights, but there's one of them. So, I mean, you can see they're great looking animals. They're just not. They're not like.
I kind of like how the side looks digitized almost, though.
Oh, it's super digitally. And like the checkerboard's not like it's not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I think it has a lot to do with. Can you guys see my cursor?
Yeah.
I think it has a lot to do with. See the white line in between the black bars?
Mm-hmm.
I think it has a lot to do with that. I feel like I see more of the black rectangles broken up on these, like Palm Beach County and some of the Hendry stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So
makes me think of Guitar Hero.
Yeah, right. So that was that one.
Cigarette in mouth.
That's a different one.
It's such a Florida picture.
That's a good looking one. But again,
is that
crazy.
A snake or the same snake?
So that snake and that snake, I think, are the same. That one's different.
I got you. How far apart did you find those?
About half a mile, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then I managed. I was messing with this photo. This photo was actually really hard to take. Oh, it won't show it. Why won't it show it? It won't load. Hang on. I'm gonna have to send it to Messenger because for some reason it doesn't want to translate.
Dom wants to know if you found her a rough green.
No, I took Casey to the rough green spot, and we didn't see a single one. And I'm wondering. I recently showed someone that spot who is a rough green fanatic, and I'll be honest. I'm wondering if they legit over collected. And I got to talk to that person because that was always a spot you guaranteed to find 4 or 5 a night, easy. Sometimes we find 15 or 20 of them.
Wow.
So I don't know if it's just the weather or what.
That's a species that I feel is way more common than we think. We just never see them because they blend in so well with anything of any shade of green.
Yeah.
Short of being, almost black. Those things blend in so well. So anytime I see one, it's crossing the road. I never find one in a tree or a bush or anything like that.
So when I find them in years past, it was always about 25, 30 minutes before dark. And they would be stretched out coming onto the road. And they still do that little like periscope head up thing.
Yeah.
And you think it's just a piece of creeper, but you realize it has no leaves. So so we find them that way. And then at the same time, what we'll do is they live in a lot of Brazilian pepper too. So we'll find a big, head of Brazilian pepper plants, which are invasive. And we'll just eye shine that or head torch that. And you'll see they're coiled up on a branch. Like not coiled like a chondro, coiled like a
they like almost like Amazons do.
Yeah, they just kind of
like pulled up, but they're touching 3 points at least.
Yes, yes. Yeah. So and we'll find them that way, and that's the best because you'll find 3 or 4 in a single tree.
Mm-hmm. I had a blast with those as a kid, man. Like watching those things hunt. Like you just go catch some grasshoppers and throw them in there, and watching them just like inch their way over, and then they're fun snakes. They really are.
So I managed to take that. That is
nice.
That is basically where civilization meets the southern Everglades. That's like the bottom of Big Cypress National Forest. And again, cell phone camera. I tried to enhance it and get some stars in there, but I love the street signs that say, entering Hendry County. This one says leaving Collier County. Like it adds a feeling to the photo, And lately I've been kind of stars obsessed, and we've had some really good weather by me. So like, going out late at night and seeing stars is kind of
look at that. The guy sees a meteor, and now he's
legit.
Now he's Al Roker.
Yeah. So.
It's funny we talked about that, and then Dr. Wyman sent us a news article. Apparently that thing was like the size of a Volkswagen, right?
Yeah. So from what I gathered,
that thing was actually big.
Yeah. So apparently it was a fragment from a Henry just messaged me. Thanks for the freaking corn snake. I can't give you that corn snake. It was too pretty. So apparently, Doug Roman sent me this article. I guess there's a astrological association or science institution in Tampa. They were saying that it's a fragment of asteroid off of a larger asteroid that was passing the planet, and when it entered the atmosphere, it was the size of a Volkswagen Bug, and then by the time it made landfall, it was about the size of a ping pong ball, but it landed 40 miles east of West Palm Beach in the Atlantic Ocean. But I swear to you, it looked
I remember seeing it in the video. I just thought it was lightning.
Yeah, it looked like it was maybe 100 or 200 yards away. That's how intense it was. So I can only imagine people like if it landed off the coast of West Palm Beach, I can only imagine if there were people like walking their dog on the beach, like what that would have looked like. Crazy.
Cover, man.
Yeah.
I would have been out of there and be like, this is the beginning of the end. The aliens are here.
Intense, man. And then of course I go down the rabbit hole and like only so many people see that in their lifetime, and like we were
you think about the size of that the radius you have to be in to see it in the first place, and then the odds of you being a person in that location on the planet at the time it happened, awake, and like it makes sense.
Yeah. You know, I'm sure it's better nowadays with like, ring cameras and stuff. But I saw just going down that rabbit hole, people saw it as far as Lakeland, which is about 100 miles from West Palm. So
Johnny said 1 meteor the size of an SUV enters our atmosphere every day. He said 50 the size of basketballs.
That's crazy. Absolutely nuts. It's amazing how that burns up, but like the space shuttle lands.
Right.
It's crazy. Crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. That's all way out of my realm as far as brain capacity and stuff.
Yeah.
Like I said, if it had landed somewhere near you, Casey's ass would have been climbing it, trying to figure it, like getting radiation and growing a third arm or something while he's looking around laughing his ass off about it.
It would be worth it. I would do it right with him.
And then Johnny said hundreds of thousands the size of baseballs, which I guess if it makes sense. We have stuff flying around past us in space all the time. Like, of course, there's going to be stuff that's going to hit our windshield, so to speak.
Yeah.
See, that's cool because he said space is my second passion after snakes, specifically black hole physics. But you learn a lot of random facts. The whole black hole physics thing is something that I'm super fascinated with, but I haven't yet to do any sort of serious reading about it. Just the whole concept of it is just mind blowing to me. But
yeah,
pretty sure Billy's Pac-Man is a black hole.
It is a black hole. Billy got his novas hatching.
He does.
So excited. So excited. I tried to call him earlier.
Casey would have licked the asteroid.
Well, was it on air or off air when I was saying how if we did see it land and we found that meteor, I would immediately be calling a friend who has a plasma cutter so we can whack that thing up and just distribute its awesomeness to all of our friends. That would be awesome.
Here, have a piece of irradiated space junk.
Yup. I love it.
Bring it into your house and all your electronics fry.
Or you get superpowers like Venom.
And then Dom said, I feel like you'd love Interstellar. I actually have not seen that. I know it's a Christopher Nolan movie. I know it got tons of praise, but I also heard it was kind of depressing. So I
see.
Yeah, that's awesome that Billy got novas. I'm thinking those really don't and haven't been produced in any sort of large numbers.
Yeah.
So to have Billy working on those is awesome.
I'm stoked. I can't wait for them to all be out of the egg. It's going to be so fucking cool. Awesome.
Still waiting on Baird's eggs. That female has been in and out of that egg box like crazy. Today is day 8 from pre-lay shed, so should be this week.
Cool.
She looks pretty loaded, so I'm hoping it's a decent sized clutch. Bairds don't have very large clutches, kind of like the the Boiga. So we'll see. Corn eggs seem to be doing okay so far too. They look a little undercalcified, which is something that we were talking about last night in our little chat.
Right.
Matt most turned me on to some liquid calcium that I've been supplementing and giving females a boost. If you read about Bairds and stuff, speak of the devil, Matt's right there. You'll see anytime you read about breeding Bairds that people give the females extra calcium. Why Bairds are different from other Pantherophis or more North American colubrids, I don't know. The only thing I can think of is maybe they have a higher lizard diet in the wild, so maybe they're naturally getting more calcium than they would from rodents. Who knows? That's my only real logical theory behind it. But
right.
So some people said, Mike, oh cool, I came in just after Baird's talk. Yeah. Some people said just, put some in the water bowl, but that confused me because it's like if you put in the water bowl, wouldn't that just completely dilute and dissolve and completely defeat the point of that? So I put it in feeders, frozen thawed feeders, and send it. So doing that. We'll see if that has any effect. If I end up getting multiple clutches this year, because I'm also doing it with corn because she clearly needed a little more. She could have used a little more going into that first clutch. And I don't know, we'll see.
Yeah. And let's just like to reiterate how amazing Matt Most is as an individual, as a human being, as a breeder and a keeper, because aside from him being a great friend now, he has been holding my hand, walking me through doing some supplement rehydration stuff with one of my babies. And the dude's dynamite, man. Can't speak highly enough about him, So it's awesome that he's even here listening. I'm not saying that because he's here listening, but you know what I mean.
I so badly, the more I think about this, because I was actually doing some reading last night. Alan Rapashi did an article back in 2014 for Reptiles that talks about the different vitamins and stuff.
Right.
Let me see if I can find it and I'll post it in the chat, but really great article on vitamins and reptiles and stuff. And that's something I'm actually I want to know. I've been talking about this lately a lot. Is just my strong drive to want to know more as far as vitamins and physiology and stuff like that. And this article was actually very insightful. So
nice.
Oh, whoops. Let me post it right. So I really want to get that book that I've been talking about, that Reptiles, Medicine, and Surgery. And they were talking on Carpets and Coffee this morning about how the complete carpet python is apparently stupid expensive. A couple $100. So I was like, I'm just going to sell that because I read it and I'm good. And then buy that book. So
cool.
I'm trying to read the chat and talk at the same time and it ain't working.
Yeah, I'm watching your eyes. It's kind of funny. I've actually been on a book crusade lately, just looking for stuff. And dude, knowledge is power, and we all have a budget.
Johnny.
We all have a budget to a certain extent. Excuse me. But it's difficult because I find myself prioritizing certain books by their monetary cost. And I think I'm just going to start to just get what I can afford, but still put a priority on what I want to learn first or what I want to know first, and I've cursed myself in the past because I'm like, oh, I'll buy that book later. And then it's out of print and I can't find it, like Iper's a Lapid book. And the infamous Gecko Bible that's $800 or $900 on Amazon.
Yeah, well, we were talking about that rat snakes one, that you could only find over over in Switzerland that was for sale. Like, I really want that one, but
Yeah.
not knowing if it's in English or some other foreign language, it's like I'm going to spend that much money on it. I kind of want to know.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then you could be like Ryan Cox and walk into a used bookstore and find it for probably next to nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think he got a medical book that I know usually goes for about $300, and he paid $35.
Yeah.
So crazy, man. Crazy. I still haven't gotten Nipper's friend who wrote the book on Israeli herps. I still haven't got that book, and I'm embarrassed to say I got to message him again because I can't remember the name of it, and I can't find it like on my own. So I have to message Nipper again and be like, "Hey, man, this is the 5th time I'm asking, but what's the name of that book again?"
Dude, people are straight up selling the complete Carpet Python on Amazon right now for $796 and up.
That's crazy.
That's insane.
Yeah, but is anyone actually? Yeah, but no one's actually buying it though. That's just people fishing.
There is no book, in my opinion, that is worth that much money. Unless you're signed by Jesus himself, I cannot justify spending.
There are book collectors. Yeah, but there are book collectors that have like a first edition of someone, and it's leather bound from 1740, and like that's an artifact, that's a collectible. They paid $5,000, they sell it for $15,000, whatever. That I understand the concept of that, but a book that was in print recently, that's $800. I mean,
I got mine in 2017 because Amazon's telling me I got it on March 14th of 2017.
Well, I'm actually checking. I bought it last year. Okay. I bought it last year. I was late to the game. I never bought the book. I bought it last year because everyone's like, "Oh, it's going out of print. It's going out of print." And obviously we talk to Julander more and more these days. And I was like, I gotta get his book. I gotta get it. And I think I paid like $75, $80 maybe, which I thought was reasonable for a hardback. Yeah, less than 100. Let me look, because the place hold on.
I don't know, because it's the same with Vin Rousseau's Boa book. That skyrocketed in price, and that's another thing where I actually gave that book away to a kid, one of the local kids at one of the like abusive family support shelters or something.
Right.
Every year they do like a Christmas thing where you can donate. Like they tell you what their interest is, and you can donate to them. And so one of these kids was interested in dinosaurs and reptiles and stuff. So I gave him like a ton of books that I had that I never read. I read them. They were old. I didn't have any use for them anymore. And that Vin Rousseau book was one of them. So I was like, I hope they figure this out and sell it. And then that child can go to college because that book paid for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
At least a semester.
Yeah. I just looked where I bought it. It was $80 plus shipping, but they're sold out. So
I think that's about what I paid, if I recall.
Yeah.
Oh, I can look. I can view this order. Let's see.
Oh, so you actually bought it from Amazon.
paid $52 and change. Yeah. I don't know. Like I said, I read it. It's great. If you're into carpet pythons, it's an absolute must have. But I need to get that surgery book. So it's got to happen.
Complete carpet.
And mine's in good shape because mine's literally, I read it and then it just sat on the bookshelf ever since. I'm pretty sure I should go look at it. I message Johnny on Facebook right now.
Yeah, my complete carpet is literally mint, like barely flipped through. So maybe I'm
gonna go grab mine and look.
If somebody really, really wants it, but I will consider selling it, especially since a new version is going to come out sooner than later. And I'm not the collector type in that regard. I get the books because I want to learn, But just to go back to what we were talking about with, used bookstores, and as long as the book isn't completely destroyed or water damaged or, I don't care if the jacket's missing. Half the time, the binding of the book looks way cooler than the jacket anyway. But if I could save $100 because it doesn't have the jacket, I'm totally going to buy it. But check out your local used bookstores. They're usually mom and pop, and they're not, They usually willing to haggle a little bit, or everything's priced, appropriately. The internet kind of ruins the finding it dirt cheap because they didn't know any better. The internet kind of ruins that because everyone can check the internet and check the market value and such. But also check Goodwill. A lot of people, they give away a lot of books, and books that they bought this book for their kid who liked snakes at a garage sale for a nickel. They give it to Goodwill because the kid's grown up and went off to college, and now you get to buy it for $10, and it could be $100 book. It could be, and the value of the book's irrelevant because you want to gain the knowledge. So check out Goodwill, Salvation Army, that kind of thing.
Pristine. Like I said, literally read it, put it back on the shelf. It's been sitting there ever since. So now I'm afraid to have a cigar around it.
Yeah, don't get it all stinky, right?
Johnny buys it, I'll even sign it for him.
Nice.
I'm not the author, but
my name is Justin. Oh man. So I saw you put a little interactive thing on Instagram story, getting people's opinion about certain topics for tonight's show. I like the reaching out to the listeners and the viewers and communicating as such. Was there anything in there that was legit good conversation starters? Or was it a lot of fluff talking about plants?
Well, yeah. Let's see. Let's see. I love how there's like 20 posts of my face as a response. So cryptic diversity was one. Fish, isopods. How Liasis is the superior genus.
I wonder who sent that, Gendra.
Captive herp interactions with other herps and pets. That was you.
Yes, it was.
What it's like to try breeding different snakes, like pythons, colubrids, and boas in the same room. What are the challenges and some tips or tricks for success? The superiority of mustaches over beards. Plants. How awesome Jason Keller would look with a mullet and a Baird's tattoo on his neck. Ruth Vanai and Dionys rat snakes. Dionys, I can never pronounce that right.
I say Dion's.
I say Dion's too. So yeah, I mean the room question is a good one. Someone also asked about monitoring, like checking the temperature in racks.
Okay.
So you can keep waiting on the fish talk, Cox.
Yeah, Cox, it's not going to happen anytime soon.
I don't know nothing about fish.
This is not aquatics and alcohol.
I don't have any inlands. I really want inlands though.
Yeah, the rack thing.
See, how do you have your probe set on yours?
So
let's start there.
All right. So in the beginning, I was never a rack guy prior to maybe 3 years ago. And I mean, like I'd worked with them, I'd used them in certain facilities, but nothing personally on my own. And to be honest, the facilities I had, the room was ambient, and a lot of the animals, they didn't stay there long enough to really need, for lack of a better word, good temperature husbandry, if you want to call it that.
Mm-hmm.
And I always was an ambient guy. Now I have several racks, and my probes I have, with the exception of the rack I got from Sean and PK Exotics, that's the only one I have that's back heat. And I only have that on for a limited amount of time a day, simply because that rack is by a window and I don't want it to get too warm without me being home. I don't trust those, alarm sensors or whatever. I'm paranoid with that. But everything else I have is bottom heat in the back, right? Recessed track. It's all sea serpent stuff. So I always do a clear, heavy, thick packing tape, and I adhere the probe to the heat tape itself, because I want it to really know what's cooking. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
With the geckos, I have a considerable amount of substrate in each tub. So what I'll do is I have multiple temp guns just because I don't trust one temp gun. And I'll check temp at the front of the tub. I'll check temp at the back of the tub. And then I'll move the sand with my hand or the substrate with my hand, and I'll hit the plastic. And even with the sand in there, the substrate in there, it acts as a pretty good, conductor, and it's very, very relatively close in temperature. So if the bottom of the naked tub is, say, 81, the surface of the sand might be 80, or it might be 81 still. But the front of my tub may be 76 or 74. Depends on what time of the day it is. I don't have night drops on the geckos like I should. And then some of the bigger racks of the CB70s or V70s, whatever you want to call them, those I don't have night drop at all because they're all snakes and they really don't care. But I will tell you this, I've been lucky because I didn't check temps for a while. I just assumed it was good. And I walk in the room and the electronic LCD display is just blanked out. And I must have had a brownout or something. So I immediately yoink it out of the wall, unplug everything, open the drawers. Temperature was just room temp. So I got lucky. It didn't overheat. It didn't over-regulate. I guess what happened was when I had that brownout, it just turned it off, which I don't know if that's a model thing. It's a Vivarium Electronics V300 is on that one.
Did you change the fuse?
No, I honestly, when I plugged it back in, it just went back to normal.
Oh.
So that's why I think it was some kind of brownout or something where it got a slight surge and that was it. But I have multiple temp guns. I check the front, I check the back, I check under the substrate if there is a heavy amount of substrate. And then for the longest time too, especially with baby geckos, I got the Exoterra makes digital hygrometers that have a little suction cup, right? And what I would do is I would do the suction cup, or they have a little piece of adhesive Velcro, and I would Velcro it to the front of the tub and then, tie the wire, because the wire's, 2 foot long, whatever. Tie a little wire up and then just fish that probe in through the front of the tub. And that would give me the relative humidity at least the front of the tub. And believe it or not, I have like 8 or 9 of those Exoterra ones. They're like $15-20 a piece. They work phenomenal. They literally tell you exactly what's what. And I always take them, like, not always, maybe like once a month. I'll take it and I'll take the probe and I'll put it in front of my mouth and I'll go, like blow out real hot air, and you'll watch it just go like 76, 77, 99. So like it's quick to read. But I mean, that's how I do tub temp checks.
Well, the reason I asked about probe placement, because that, like, there's more factors to that than even I kind of thought of until just a few minutes ago when we started talking about it. But
right.
Like in my room, I have that window, and I have a rack in front of that window. It gets afternoon sun.
Okay.
So that definitely ups that corner of the room. But
that wall is facing north, correct?
I have no idea.
I thought that wall faces north.
I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe.
Sorry, go on.
So that will up the temperatures. And then there's an air vent right above that rack as well. So that kind of lowers things a little bit. But the way that those AP racks are is there's a little slot where you put that probe, but there's still like a very tiny little section where that probe isn't even coming close to the heat tape.
Okay.
So that makes it gets a little warmer than it would if it were directly on the tape. But the issue is when I have it directly on the tape, that tape doesn't hold. It heats up and that glue becomes more viscous or less viscous or whatever the term is. And then it, pops out and the probe falls, and then your tubs start melting because probe keeps saying up the temp. So I'm not necessarily a fan of that, but in my hatchling rack where I have the baby Cyanea and where I have some of the small beards, the probe is in so there's like 7 3-tub shelves.
Right. And
so I have the probe for that one in the center of that rack in that center tub, but it's attached to one of the S3D perches, the Brahms perches.
Yeah.
And so it's getting like it's making the temperature of that back half 82, I think is what I have it set at. And I have yet to, that seems pretty consistent. I haven't had any issues with that yet. But I also have one of the racks that my dad put together that has a probe that's touching the heat tape. So I've done both. Most of the caging companies, I think, will tell you get it as close to the heat tape as you can. And I think that's just going to cause a sharper gradient, if that makes any sense.
Sure.
So I don't know. So far, like I said, that having it in the hatchling rack in that middle tub seems to be working fine. I don't have to worry about it falling out. I've had a couple racks where that probe fell out, on that small Chondro rack that I got from Sean. It wasn't anything Sean did or, any design flaw. It was just, it had come loose and it fell out the back. And I was wondering why all the Chondros were hugging the front of the tubs, all 6 of them. And I was like, that's not right. And I stuck my hand in there and it was crazy hot. Temp gunned it. It was, I want to say, getting into the triple digits in the back. So fortunately, I didn't have any issues. I didn't lose any of them. But what I did then was I took a zip tied right behind the head of that probe where the cord starts, and then left that big long tail on it so that basically when it hits that little hole where that probe comes through, it can't fall back. It just stays in there. So it is kind of tough, and it's one of those things I've learned now to double check your probes periodically, once or twice a month, make sure everything's where it's supposed to be, because I did have that one rack that probe fell out and I wondered what was smelling like burning plastic, and it turns out to be one of the colubrid racks. The probe had just vanished, and I have burnt heat tape on that rack, and that rack hasn't been plugged back in since. It's pretty much done. But I didn't really like that rack to begin with. The tubs are super hard to pull in and out, and the water goes everywhere, so I'm not really complaining. It's a piece of shit, but so but I just temp gun everything.
I was going to say too is I started to recently check my thermostats themselves as much as I check the probe placement and the temps in the tub, because excuse me, I got a frog in my throat. Ribbit. Because I was saying about brownouts, my neighborhood is basically a peninsula. And they didn't want high tension wires or phone lines or whatever to come across water. So everything's underground, which is great for a hurricane because everyone else who loses power because of down trees and stuff, I usually don't. I usually stays on. But I do get a ton of brownouts. And I think it has to do with surges at the power source. So I'll come home from work and I have, 2 VE 100s that I can see from sitting in bed, and they'll be flashing. And I'm like, what the hell happened now? And I'll look, and it says 12 midnight, and it's 6 at night. I'm like, okay, clearly I had a brownout, and it reset itself. But I've also noticed where it's not a legit brownout; it's just a miniature dip in electricity or dip in wattage or whatever, and it'll skip a beat or it'll skip an hour, and it'll be shut off for an hour, but the lights are still on. You know what I mean? So I'll notice they'll say one thermostat will say 11 p.m. The other one will only say 10:35 or 10 o'clock, whatever it was. And
the VE ones for me have been when you lose the power in your oven, the oven or the microwave, the clock blinks. That's how I know the power went out, because I'll notice it has to have to reset it.
Right, and that's what I was going to say is, if you have night drops, whether it be on timer or it be on the actual night drop module from Vivarium Electronics, excuse me, that'll mess up everything. You know what I mean? Because now it's getting hotter later or cooler earlier, or however you want to phrase it, and that can mess with your breeding cycles. That can mess with you trying to replicate times of year or seasons in captivity. Obviously, it depends on the species you're working with, but just be mindful that even though you're checking the temps in the tubs or the temps in the drawers, pay attention to the actual thermostat itself, because it can be off and you might not notice it at that time, but at 2 a.m, it could be dynamically different.
Yeah. What I've started doing now, because I bought one of those massive 5-foot long industrial power strips from Walmart, because I got tired of having 3 surge protectors on a wall.
Right.
So everything on that one wall with the window is plugged into that power strip.
Cool.
And now at night, I just turn everything off. Like I just hit the switch on the surge protector, everything cools down, and then in the morning, lights go off, and then in the morning I just click it back on, and everything starts back up again. And that's
what's the ambient at 3 a.m?
I don't know.
Well, I would look
probably
at that.
It's got to be in the mid 70s if I had to guess, because the AC I have set at like 72 right now, and it's almost always a couple degrees warmer in that room just because of everything that's going on. So
yeah, see, I got to be careful because with the venomous and stuff, I have the air vents closed off. The room is sealed in.
Yeah,
I have the door sweep. So
what?
When a door sweep. Yeah. Yeah, that's what it's called.
That was the other thing someone answered when I asked what we should talk about. They were like,
"Oh yeah,"
like ha ha ha. Terry Burwell thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, well, Terry's a smart man. So, what I was gonna say is when it gets cold, like way colder than I want it to. Unfortunately, it's not cold enough to do the brumation that I want to do, but it does chill down quite a bit. I'm actually just starting to look at UV stuff again and heating emitter stuff again because I got those new rinks new to me, and I'm going to set them up legit. I really want to put some sweat and backbone into these setups. And I was looking at fans and air circulation, and then Rob Kellaway was kind enough to send me some information on UV index per the different states of South Africa.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, awesome. He sent me this link to a PDF file on basically a care sheet, and it has. He's like, I don't know if you know this already. I could be beating a dead horse, but I thought this was pretty cool. I figured you'd enjoy it. I said, that's awesome, man. Thanks so much. And then I open it, and I'm like, holy shit, this is what I've been looking for. And it literally goes into like times of the year, the UV indexes per each state and region in South Africa. So like, if you're in Eastern Cape, it's July, you're right around here. If you're in KwaZulu-Natal and it's July, you're like right around here. So super helpful, and I want to emulate that. I really do. I want to try and get it as close as I can. And then between that and you guys, with Stone and Matt Most and everybody talking about lights and
yeah,
I'm just going down that rabbit hole. It's a lot. It's a lot to process.
Yeah, I guess that's the problem when you surround yourself with guys that take it seriously, is you kind of by default up the ante,
And it makes me wonder how I was successful long ago when I clearly didn't know any of this stuff. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's like it worked for a long time, but man, it's going to be so much better when I do this.
Yeah, just like with the lights for me, like talking to Matt about supplementation and what species sort of benefit from that more than others and things like that. It's just, I think this hobby in particular is very, I guess with anything really, not even necessarily the hobby, but like the people you surround yourself with, like the company you keep,
of course.
That you can either have people that are kind of okay with being where they're at, and then you can have people that like Matt and Rob and those guys that are constantly finding out the best ways to do things better. And I think by default, even if you're not necessarily consciously trying, it puts that bug in your ear and you start really you and I are prime examples of that. Like UV with Gonyosoma. Yeah, I considered it. Did I ever think that it was something that they would really benefit them to the point where it's 100% worth doing? No, but talking to Matt, it definitely makes sense, given that their diet and activity in the wild and how high they are and how much UV they're getting normally. It makes more sense. And it's, it's one of those things. Just surround yourself with greatness and you too will become great.
Yeah. Wise words, man. Wise words. So, but you didn't like my idea of the interacting with other reptiles and interacting.
No, I did. I wanted to talk about it. I was just wondering.
Oh, okay.
What it like? Was there something in particular that you had seen that you were?
Yes. So my personal observations. I've got essentially two concepts One of which is I have racks with snakes and geckos that are at floor level, and I have a dachshund. I have a wiener dog. And first of all, he hates lizards. His sole goal in life is to seek out, hunt, and kill anoles. That's like his MO. So when I bring him to my parents' house, they have like a big backyard, patio area, and all he does for like 8 hours a day is just hunt lizards. He never catches them. I think he's caught like 2 in his entire life. But he doesn't even know that those lizards are in those tubs, but they're watching him. And I noticed that. And I noticed like with the Underwoodosaurus, they'll sit there all big frog-eyed, and they're just like, I'm going to eat that dog. Yep. I'm going to eat that. I'm going to eat that. And like, I see the tail doing the thing,
Mm-hmm.
And like, I'm thinking to myself, this gecko is smaller than the dog's foot, but it's going to try and eat that dog. And that got me thinking about how a lot of our rack systems, and even some of our like glass enclosures or acrylic enclosures, the animals can see out. We don't think they can because we're not thinking like that. Same thing with fish. When we look at the front of a fish tank, here you go, Cox. We're talking about aquatics right now.
There you go.
When you look at the front of a fish tank, you see in crystal clear. But if you turn yourself to the side, you look at one of the side windows from the front of the fish tank, there's the reflection, and it looks like a mirror, but it's not. If you were in that fish tank looking out, it would be completely visible to you because you're on the inside, not looking from the outside. So I think about the same thing with the tubs, and I have geckos next to snakes.
Mm-hmm.
And now I've got snakes looking at geckos going, I can eat that. Yeah, I'm going to eat that. And I've got a baby water python staring at a knobtail. And I'm like, why did I do this? Why did I put them next to each other? You know what I mean? And it's funny because like I've got the jag I got from Billy. That jag sits on his paper towel roll and stares at a knobtail gecko all night, just waiting for that knobtail to make a move. And the knobtail's like, I'm on this side, bro. You can't get me. So I started noticing these weird interactions, and part of me wants to see how long before they just become numb to it. You know what I mean? Because they're all babies for the most part in that rack. But you have racks that have a gap in between, and they're clear or opaque drawers and tubs.
Mm-hmm.
So the animals can clearly see each other, whether it be a silhouette or a shadow, or see it clear as day. There was one time when I had a snake in a rack, and it would just strike at everything that moved by. So, if it was a vision cage or a terrarium or something, you put newspaper on the front so the animal can't see out, or maybe you put a towel, drape a towel in the front of the enclosure so the animal can't see out. So like what I did is I cut pieces of cardboard and I slid pieces of cardboard in next to each tub. So that it basically made a barrier and the animals couldn't see each other. But I wonder how many other people have noticed that. And I wonder how many other people have had, poor experiences with it. Has it affected the stress level of a particular species, whether it be predatory or being the prey, So I figured we could bring that up and see what people say. And I didn't know if you had any experience with it.
So, I mean, the cat, sometimes I'll have the door open while I'm cleaning stuff, and the cat loves to go and pester my female hognose.
Okay.
And the female hognose hates it.
There you go. That's it.
Which I'm sure there's some sort of instinctual thing of a cat, which eats anything and everything they can catch,
Yeah.
So I feel bad because he'll sit there and like tap the tub, and she'll, do her little false strike. And so I pull him out and leave him be. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty much everything. Every time I've had a cat, minus when I was living with my buddy who had a cat that did not care about anything in that house other than whoever would give him attention.
Right.
They all were just absolutely obsessed with anything that was going on in those tanks or those tubs. So. So
yeah,
I keep my door closed on purpose because I know that he's gonna knock stuff over. Hector, my cat, he's gonna knock stuff over. He's gonna, be driving stuff crazy, like just too much of a pain,
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. And, like I've constantly got a dog nudging the door open, And then I get paranoid because some of the baby geckos, like I'll just put a towel on my bed and I'll just put the tubs in the bed. I'll put the TV on, background noise, watch Big Bang or something in the background while I'm, sifting sand on my bed. And the dog sits there and stares at me. And all I can think of is, don't drop the gecko, don't drop the gecko, don't drop the gecko, because he is so vivacious with those anoles. I think he would just slaughter it. You know what I mean? So I have to be very careful.
What's funny is there was a garter snake in the front yard yesterday morning when I was walking Archie, and he saw it and he actually went after it.
Really?
It's very bold of him because he's usually a giant chicken when it comes to pretty much anything he's not familiar with.
Yeah.
And he literally went after this thing, and I kind of laughed. I obviously told him to stop. I don't think he actually got a hold of it at any point, but he got close, and
yeah,
I was like, that's a bold move for Archibald, because he's not a brave individual at all.
Right. It's like somebody sent me a clip today of a guy, I guess, walking, a levee or something with his dogs down in Miami. And he's got 2 dogs, probably about Archie's size, maybe 30, 40 pounds, something like that. Maybe bigger. And there's like a 12 or 13 foot American croc basking on the opposite side of the levee. And the croc starts to move, and the dogs run up and start barking at it. The acutus opens its mouth and shows its teeth real quick. And the dogs are rah, 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 rah. And the guy's like, get back here. Stop it. Get back here. And the dogs are just not listening. And that acutus is just like, I got to get the hell out of here. It just starts sliding across the thing and just dips right in the water. But all I could think of was, those dogs have a death wish.
Did you see the one? There was a small, it wasn't a Pomeranian, but it was some other small, tiny dog in Australia. And these people, I guess, had a big saltwater crocodile in their backyard. And so they had these videos of this little teacup, small dog, whatever, ankle biter, going up and biting this crocodile on the tail, and it would take off every time. But it was facing the water. The crocodile was facing the water. Well, the last video, it was facing the house or wherever they were filming. And so that dog went up there to go do that. And that croc just grabbed it and took it. And it was gone. But it was funny because every time it would scare that croc away, they were laughing, ha ha ha, whatever. And then that happened. They were like, oh my God. It's like, what did you expect?
Yeah. What did you expect? Exactly.
Let me see. Yeah, it's it was funny at first, and then you saw it and it was like, oh.
Yeah. There's a reason why they're showing this clip. It's going to happen. But,
yeah.
But yeah, if anyone has any unique interactions they've observed between tubs in the same rack, or cages next to each other, or what have you, let us know. I mean, I'm interested to hear other people's observations.
Oh, well, that might be part of the problem. They were feeding it.
Oh, that's not good.
Let me see. I think this is. I don't see a dog. Okay, guess not. They threw a piece of chicken at it and it ate it, and then the dog came in and scared it off, but they didn't show the dog getting its comeuppance. So,
okay.
Whatever. I don't know. It's on the interwebs.
Internet.
And Jeff, you tagged me in that. I'm not in that group, so I can't see it.
Yeah, same thing.
I'm assuming it's a carpet eating eggs. My camera said I can always tell if a cat has made its way into the room behind me. My carpet goes right to the front of the glass. See, that's interesting too, because we've had our buddy Chris Painshab on THP, and he talked about how his leechies will watch the Gargs and Cresties, but not in a curious way, but in a I could totally fit that in my mouth and eat it way.
Yeah.
A very predatory way.
Yeah.
Which I thought was pretty cool. Cool, I guess, in the sense that those things are just giant tree slug raptor things.
Oh man. Did you ever see that giant quote unquote extinct gecko from New Zealand?
No.
So apparently there's I don't know if it's like a Maori thing with like a Maori mystical creatures or whatever, but apparently there was a giant gecko that was basically the size of like I don't know, I want to say like an Argus monitor or something. I can't remember the scientific name. Nipper talked about it once. And the only one they have as a specimen is a taxonomy, or not taxonomy, excuse me, a taxidermy. And it looks like some dude in 6th grade science class got carried away with plaster Paris or paper mache, you know? And it's just this giant like gecko. And I always think about that, man. I think about those mountains in there and those high altitude animals, and there's got to be more giant ass geckos out there. There's just got to be. You know, whether it's that particular species or it's something we haven't seen before, but there's so many islands and so many mountains on islands that we haven't looked at, and it'll be awesome. One day somebody will find it. Hopefully leave it alone. And
watching this video, it's a carpet eating an egg, man.
Okay. All right. Riveting.
It doesn't surprise me. I'm sure it smells like a bird, and they're like, "Hey, look, a bird."
Or, hey, look, an egg. Everything likes to eat eggs.
Well, it's the best prey. It doesn't run away. It doesn't fight you. It doesn't run off.
It's true.
Why the yellow rats like them so much?
Yeah. It's got water. It's got nutrients. It's got calcium. It's got protein.
Did he send it to you?
He did, but I can't see it. So
no. Okay.
I'm not in that group either. I'm not one of the cool.
Well, I mean, Miguel sent it to me on Messenger. I don't know if he sent it to you or not.
Oh no, I just got it from Jeff. Or
the video, or just the link?
I got the link from Gendra.
Okay, I'm sending you the video right now.
Okay. Actually, it wasn't Gendra. It was actually just Jeff.
Maybe not. I told it to save the video, and it wouldn't.
Oh no, that's because you can't. If you save it on Facebook, it's saved for you. It's not saved to your computer.
No, it's right here. It's on my phone. I just sent it to you. It's
okay.
Sending.
A text or Facebook?
Facebook Messenger.
Okay.
Technology.
Crazy, man. There it is. Let's open this. Let's rewind this a little bit. I don't know why, but it looks like it's like high speed or something. Hold on. Let's throw it up.
I think it is sped up a little bit.
Okay.
It's got to be. Because it looks like it wrestles with it for a few minutes. Yeah, it's definitely sped up.
And that's quail egg, right?
I think so. Yeah, because they're all speckly and stuff.
Yeah. It's getting it down, man. Now, do we know where this was? Obviously, it's in captivity. But...
I don't know, but like Cox said, I wonder if it spit the shell back up or if it just did the whole thing. I'd imagine it did the whole thing.
Yeah, I imagine it did the whole thing too. Oh, it restarted.
Well, there's calcium.
Yeah. Super cool.
So, as someone who has different species from different parts of the world and different habitats, how do you manage to meet the criteria for each of those species in the same room?
In the past, I have sacrificed my own comfortableness to my own comfort. Comfortableness, my own comfort to accommodate the animals that I was keeping. Sorry, I got distracted. It's raining out here. So like, for example, in my bedroom, I keep the bedroom relatively cool. So I'll try and keep some of the species in the bedroom that don't mind it cooler. And then if I have to raise their temp, it's easy. I can just add a heat lamp, or I can crank up the thermostat and go from there. I think the biggest part is maintaining the relative humidity, because most animals, with the exception of some extreme desert stuff or some extreme montane stuff, most animals are happy between 74 and 84, right?
Yeah.
However, if it's a mangrove snake, a mangrove estuary type snake, it needs a higher humidity than, say, a lizard that lives in an arid grassland, steppeland. So while as the arid lizard, I may not spray or mist or make it rain in there more than once a month, if that, those mangroves, they get sprayed 3 times a week, and their substrate is, consistently more hydrated than anything else. I'm also a key believer in flooding cages on occasion. Like some of the arid species, like the girdletails and stuff, I'll mist them down on occasion, and then I'll just dump like 2 liters of water in there and flood that thing out. And they freak out and they run up and they evade the flood, or they may stay underwater and just drink and drink and drink, and then they'll drown. And then they poke their head out of the water and take a breath and swim or crawl to wherever they got to go. So I think humidity and hydration is a very, very big deal with having different species from different ecosystems in the same room, more so than just what temp do I keep it at? You know what I mean? Yeah. And I'm also a big fan. We always talk about how animals can take cold way more than they can take heat. So I'll keep a room cooler to accommodate a more wide array of habitats, if you will, than warmer. And very rarely will I ever have a room go more than like 82 ambient, for 2 reasons. One, because it's hot. 82 is way hotter than we most
working in that. I mean, even in the upper 70s in my room, dude, just cleaning stuff, I start to sweat. I mean, granted, I'm fat.
Yeah.
But, it gets warm in there.
Yeah. And I also like, we always have this debate of, do you keep a neonate in the same temperature cycles as an adult? Or do you just keep them at a relative temperature until they're sexually mature, and then go through brumation or hibernation or what have you, or just temperature cycling? I like to start them off. It's the same thing. If they were in the wild, it would get cold in winter.
They're not going to have a say regardless.
Exactly. And even though it may be more beneficial to their health to have the constant, and have it the same, and the same meal every Tuesday or whatever it is, the same misting and spraying and rainfall every Wednesday, whatever it is, I still think that in the wild it wouldn't be like that, and that's like, I go back to the weather app on my phone, and like this, I have weather from all over the world on my phone, and people are like, why do you have, Jakarta in there? Why do you have, Dar es Salaam in your phone? I'm like, well, because I got lizards from Tanzania. If it's raining in Tanzania, I'm gonna spray that cage down. Granted, it doesn't work exactly like that because it's different elevations.
Well, yeah, I mean, if it's not raining, you're not gonna have that pressure system happening. Yeah,
right. But I still try and give them as much as the wild as I can.
The animals have a telepathy where they go, "I've never been there, but I know it's raining there right now. Where's the water?"
And that goes back to. I usually, in the past, I've kept a lot of wild caught stuff, and they don't know that they're in the northern hemisphere. They're trying to figure out, why is this so dry? It should be raining right now, So I at least try and give them what they can for the first few years until they've better acclimated to our hemisphere. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I don't know if that really answered your question or if I just kind of opened up more questions, but for me, it's keeping the room a little cooler because I can always raise individual enclosure temperatures, and making sure that the humidity per the species is appropriate, because it's going to be drier regardless, because I'm accommodating multiple animals.
Yeah.
So.
Well, there's substrate plays a bigger factor in that, I think, than maybe one might realize.
Yeah.
If I'm keeping, I'm not having an issue keeping baby cyanea on dampened paper towel at the same time in the same rack with a Baird's on aspen.
Yeah.
Like I'm not. Those are two issues that I shouldn't have any problems with, and I don't. But I'm a firm believer, and it's something I think about a good bit actually. Like most species, like I would say a very solid majority of the species we keep in the hobby, all have a relatively similar baseline in terms of needs, be it temperature and humidity and stuff like that. And if you think about it, naturally that makes sense because we don't keep a ton of species that are way high in elevation, or they're all in that equatorial band more or less within that range.
Yeah.
Obviously stuff like your montane species, montane rat snakes, montane rattlers, bolins, all that stuff, like that's going to be a little different, but for the most part, I mean, what corn snakes experience and what Baird's experience is going to be fairly similar. There's just going to be a difference in humidity because it is way more humid here than it is in Texas, but that's something that's easily adjusted to. I keep Baird's and corns the same. I have no issues. Yeah,
but that also comes down to a species that's more forgiving. I would say that both of those animals are more forgiving. But if you had a rack and your rack is a 6-drawer rack, 2-2-2, right? And you've got one side is Baird's and one side's corns, and you kept the Baird side on sand and rock and some soil, and then you kept the corns on sand and soil and pine needles, right? That the right side with the corns, you could keep it more humid. It would retain the humidity better because of the different substrate that you put in there, and you could keep the Baird's drier because they are more arid species.
Right.
But the temp on the thermostat would still be 81. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a good way to do it, is making sure that with, like I said, humidity and you said substrate, those two things together can really make the difference. They make or break. Right.
But even with the cyanea and the gonyosoma, I keep those identically in terms of like substrate, humidity, temperature, everything.
But they're from the same spot, though.
They are from the same area, so that's kind of the caveat with those. But at the same time, like with my adult cyanea, they're in that big habitat systems rack right now, and it doesn't have any heat because I tore all the heat out and I got to replace it still. I ordered some heat cord put in it, and they were out of stock. And then they emailed me and said we don't have it, so I got a refund. But I need to order that still. But they're temperature right now, like ambient, whatever the room is, and they do fine. And I think they sort of fall into that same category of chondros of like they're tougher than we kind of give them credit for. Like they can handle, they're not as delicate as originally thought. And one of the things, like if you watch Dan Maleri's videos on YouTube, he found a cyanea a couple months ago. He did a video and he found a cyanea, and like I want to say it was in like the 50s or low 60s.
Wow.
Cyanea was just cruising around in Thailand. So
yeah, and that's another thing.
They're more adapted to cooler temperatures than we think.
And that's another thing too, is that we are so, I don't want to say programmed, but we get an idea in our head of what an ecosystem is supposed to look like per the locality. And oftentimes we're very, very wrong.
Yeah. Chondros are a prime example of that. Everyone thinks chondros come from like a, South American equivalent of a rainforest where it's hot and humid and super thick. And it's actually, reading about it and reading Rico Walder's experience going there, it's actually much more temperate than you would think. Like he said, it was actually it was very cool under the canopy and stuff in those forests. Like wasn't a whole lot of sunlight getting through there, but it was like the temperature wise, it was much cooler than you would think.
Right.
And so, the way you would keep an emerald compared to how you would keep a chondro is going to be different. Like emeralds need more humidity, they need more heat because where they come from, that is like that traditional thing. But people think that they come from rainforests. And when we think of rainforests, we think of South America and like green inferno type of shit.
Yeah.
And it's not like that in chondro country.
Right.
From what I've been told. I've never been there. So this is just what I've read, but they're trusted sources.
it also goes to like just speaking of chondros, my good friend Chris is redoing a bunch of chondro cages now, and he's been studying Indonesian topography for like 3 weeks now, trying to get foliage correct and temperatures and humidity. And I told him that, I was like, yeah, man, it's more of an error. It's not. It's a more of a temperate environment. It's not this hot, muggy rainforest. He says, yeah, it may be 78, but it's still 100% humidity because it is jungle still. And like he starts showing me pictures, and one of the pictures he showed me was actually one of Natush's. He didn't even know who Natush was because he's a hobbyist. He's not as obsessed as we are. But that's another thing is, it was December in Florida or February in Florida, and it was only 60 degrees, but it was so cold because of the humidity, because it was still 90%, 95% humidity, and it's midnight and the ground is wet and it looks like it rained and it hasn't rained for weeks. And that's just because it's the swamp, So we think about going back to substrate and humidity too, is you can get a lot accomplished by just getting the substrate and humidity correct. I'm talking with Henry about it now because I'm redoing the rack with the purple maculatus in it, and I'm going to do a half-ass bioactive where I'm going to put some ceramic balls in the bottom and the netting and substrate and add some isopods and get it going, because I need the humidity to be increased, but I also don't want them sitting in sludge,
Yeah.
So I'm working on that myself now. And that goes,
humidity can be kind of the tough one because it's just you're trying to keep things humid, and there's a very big difference between humid and wet.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Nobody wants scale rot. Nobody wants water blisters. I've seen so many ball pythons with water blisters because people think they live in the jungle. It's like you said, ball pythons don't live in the same ecosystem as emerald tree boas. They live in a hole in the ground that's, clay and rock and shale, stone. And yes, it gets rainfall. And yes, it has a good high humidity at times, but it's still Western Africa. It's not Central Africa. It's not the Congo,
Well, it's the difference between puff adders and rhinos.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's the difference between puff adders and rhinos. Which I also think is crazy because someone's going to correct me, but I'm pretty sure the puff adders is the most widely distributed species on the planet, because they find them in the most arid deserts in North Africa, north of the Sahara, and then they find them in the lush forest landscape, in southern Congo.
I would think it would be either them or saw-scaleds. One of the Echis species has got to be close in contention with that.
Well, I think it's one of those things where, like, for example, Eastern Diamondbacks. Eastern Diamondbacks have the most widely distributed ecosystem in North America, because Eastern Diamondbacks, although they don't usually live in a swamp, they are found in swamps. So the animals that grew up or matured or evolved to live in the swamp are not going to be the same that lived in the highlands or the palmetto scrubs. Those cypress bog Eastern Diamondbacks, they probably wouldn't do well in the palmetto head. They probably
we were talking about that not that long ago.
With Derek, yeah. Yeah.
Scott says Hydrophorus platurus.
I stay away from everything that says hydro. So.
And Johnny said, bigger water bowl or move your water bowl to the warmer side of the cage if you are running paper, if you have bedding, add a drainage layer to increase humidity and still keep a clean environment. Yeah, my only issue with moving the water bowl closer to the heat source is exacerbating the growth of bacteria in the bowl, which if you're cleaning it regularly, disinfecting it and wiping it out and stuff like that, then I guess it's not that big of a deal. But I don't know. I keep my water bowls on the cool end on pretty much everything, just out of personal preference, and using oversized water bowls for things like chondros and the boiga and the goniosoma, just to make sure that A, they can find it, and B, that it is upping that ambient humidity. Definitely does help. And I think even having pothos, like that tannin bar cage with the philodendron and that pothos that's just exploding, I really do think like having just a potted plant in those cages really helps with the ambient humidity and stuff. And I also look at it, it's an air purifier too. It keeps that air from getting too stagnant. So
Yeah.
I think you can get a decent sized pothos from Walmart for like $9. Like you could easily cut that thing in half or into quarters and split that up between 4 cages, and it would do well. So
yeah,
that's something I've been trying to do more, is add more just pothos, just simple stuff, you know.
It's also something, you know, speaking of, you know, stagnant air and having good ventilation, good airflow.
Now we're talking about plants. Jesus.
Now, we're not talking about plants.
We talked about fish. Now we're talking about plants.
So going back to ventilation and good airflow,
it's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, right. Someone recently told me about, they had gone into like a Petco or a PetSmart or one of the big box stores, and somebody had brought in their Exoterra that was obviously small enough that they could carry it and move it. And they brought their animal in to play with it or look at it or something. But they noticed that the air vents that are in the front of the glass, right? Yeah. They have those thin black slots.
Mm-hmm.
They were so full of dust and crud that no air was going to get through that.
They weren't. Oh, it's like a belly button.
Exactly. And all I could think of was, I mean, I'm usually pretty gross about it. I don't blow them out. I blow them in just because I don't want sand and shit going all over the floor and stuff. But you got to keep those air vents clear, because the whole point of those vents is to let air come in through the screen top and then flow out the front. Right, circulate, right. And now you've just cut that off. So I think that also can affect humidity to a certain degree. And a lot of times, too, some of the cages, they even have vents that you can open and close, you know.
Yeah.
But making sure that those vents are clear, making sure those vents are clean, they don't have rust in them if it's metal. That also helps.
Does that not drive you crazy when you see people, like, I know Nipper does this, where he puts like glass or something over the screen in an Exoterra?
Why?
Because in my experience, it just rusts immediately. And I don't know. I'm very like OCD about it. Like I have to just take that entire top off and just put a just straight glass where that was. I just can't just cover it up like that. Especially if you're dealing with something high humidity, that moisture gets trapped between the screen and that top, and it just rusts right through it.
So I've never put straight glass on top, but I have some Zilla ones where, and this is pretty brilliant. It's plastic that has little finger holes, so you can, you know, get your fingers in there and lift it up.
Yeah.
And it's fit to the size of the enclosure, and it keeps the humidity in, but it doesn't make condensation that's going to sit on that aluminum screen and rust that aluminum screen. And I've noticed too, is Dustin saying that the newer ones don't rust. Everything rusts to a certain point. You know, stainless steel, it stains less. It still can rust. so
False advertising.
It's being mindful. You know, for the longest time, I poured water through the screen, right? And yeah, you might get some rust, but I also was very conscientious of it, where I would take a paper towel and I would dry it when I'm done. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So let's say I was being lazy and I didn't want to open the cage or take the snake out. Again, we're talking about venomous stuff, and you know, it can be a hassle to remove a water dish at times, and you're in a rush or you're lazy or whatever. And I would pour water through the top of the screen. And I also have had corrugated plastic light diffuser that gave a gap so that I physically could, let's say I rested my hand on top of that enclosure, a viper or something could not bite up and the fangs could not break through that light diffuser, right? So, and that was a safety protocol thing. So I would pour the water through that. I would then take the light diffuser off, dab it with paper towel to dry it off, put the light diffuser back on, and call it a day. But yeah, you'd have stuff rust, and if you had to replace it, you replaced it. But I wasn't too paranoid like you are.
I think I had that issue when I had the lone rainbow bow I had back in like 2014. That was the issue I had, because I was keeping that on the more humid side, and I don't know. I think airflow is a big thing too with a lot of species like subox. Subox do not do well if you do not give them good ventilation. Like, it's very well documented that subox they have to have a good amount of airflow. What was the other species I was thinking of? I think a lot of those desert species, you know, especially need that airflow, because stagnant air and air that's too humid it's just not going to jive with them, because they're not built for that.
Yeah.
But then I've had the rainbow boa and some other species where you keep them super humid and they never have a single issue.
Right.
So it's odd.
I'm actually looking for a picture that I sent Billy. Billy just sent me pictures of the Nova Guineas hatching, so we'll put them up in a minute because I am super excited about that. But I had pictures that I sent Billy. I'm wondering if I sent it to him or I sent it in the group chat of the humid hides that I made for the lesser Sunda pythons.
Mm-hmm.
And it was super simple. It was basically just a medium-sized deli, your standard medium reptile deli. And I cut a hole in the lid, and I melted the edges of the hole with a lighter so it was smooth and not jagged. And then I soaked a good amount of super, super wet sphagnum moss. I basically put a handful of sphagnum moss in there, and I would fill the deli cup 3/4 of the way with scalding hot water, so it was fresh hot water. Let that moss soak up all that moisture, and then I would squish it with my hand and drain out all the excess. So the moss retained that high hot humidity, but there wasn't any standing water. And then I would just put the lid back on, and man, just the difference it does for a snake, it's just phenomenal.
I put in a humid hide with the female Jansenii yesterday. I just took like
Cool.
a 6-quart tub, like one of the taller, hefty ones that are deeper but not like longer. And I took that Dremel Sawmax that I used to put on the Python portals from Brahms, which those I cannot recommend those things enough. It's like the best $100 you'll ever spend on a power tool. And just cut a 3-inch square on the lid and just pack that sucker full of spag. She hasn't gone in there yet, but it's there for her if she wants to.
Nice. But yeah, that humid hide just goes back to what we're talking about of I have animals that are high humidity next to animals that are extreme desert, and I have to make it more accommodating for the humid animal because the rack or the shelf or whatever it is making that difference. So there's a lot of tricks and tips to congratulations, Dustin.
I'll say I thought you'd find that awesome. I find it
very
awesome.
much so.
I had to Google it because I'm not familiar with those.
Super cool. But let me try and get these pictures from Billy. And and by the way, Dustin, which velvets are they? Just out of curiosity. What the hell did I do with this thing?
That's one of the reasons I've liked this egg box setups that I've been using the last Cyanea clutch and now that corn clutch is it keeps things very humid, but the eggs themselves are like dry.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
Which is ideal.
Monilis. And with those velvets, Dustin, have you noticed them going in those humid hides on a certain part of the day, or are they just living in there? Because that's something I've always been curious with. Because for a while, a friend of mine had Wahlbergs for a while, and he made humid hides, and they just lived in it, and he couldn't tell if it was they like that cave, they like that hide, or if it was because they needed the extra humidity. So I'm very curious about that.
I have a group of Turkicus geckos again.
I heard, and you're going to feed the Pangea. It's going to be glorious.
It's funny. I put my Wise camera in front of the tank and put a little cup full of Pangea because as soon as you turn on the lights or walk in, they disappear. They scatter like roaches. And so I put it on night vision so I could watch them and check on them and see if they ate any at night. I didn't see them do it though. So
yeah,
it was worth a shot. I'll keep it in there, I guess. And if they want to eat it, they can eat it. I'll have to get my hands on some small bugs.
There they are.
Yeah.
There they are. So I need Billy to get the meal in these things and get them shedding so that I can go over and cherry pick, right? Cherry pick. So.
Look, here's Scott, the bearer of bad news.
Yeah.
Manola's got split into 4 species. Yeah.
Nice.
Bet you it was your boy Hoser, wasn't it?
Those geckos are so dynamic too. Like it makes sense that they would do that, But yeah, look at that. And then there's one more. Whoops, that's not it. Look at that. There it is. Love it. And even as a hatchling, you can see that longer face, more narrow head. Ugh, friggin' adorable. Super cute. Love it. Can't wait.
Nova
Guinea. I texted Billy and I said, I'm going to throw those up. He goes, I figured you would. So he better be watching. I know he's home.
He is, because he's stuck at home. He got the Rona.
The Rona.
He's probably bored out of his mind.
No, his cages are probably friggin' spotless. He's probably annoyed that he has the Rona because now he can't show anyone how clean his cages are.
I tried to clean. I mean, Billy's not symptomatic, like majorly symptomatic like I was. I tried to clean cages. I'm sure some of y'all saw that because it's on this channel. I live streamed it for some reason and kept it. And I was like struggling, dude. And just either before or after that, Alan Stevens called me because we were talking about some monitor stuff. And I was like hacking up a lung just talking to him on the phone. He's like, dude, you need to go. I was like, no, I'm good. It's like, I'm so lonely.
Hey, we got to get him back on for talk about that new facility.
Mm-hmm.
That would be awesome. I'm watching the yeah. Now, did Bert get his from him or no?
No, he got his from
Brett.
I don't remember. No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure Jeff's ready to be back, man.
Yeah.
In the wilds of New Mexico. Let's hope I don't screw up this next Bears clutch.
I think you're fine.
I feel like a pretty big dummy for screwing up the first one. They're supposed to be the simplest of rat snakes to be able to reproduce.
Famous last words.
Famous last words. So I got 2 of those bimaculata and lost one of them. The smaller one that I kind of figured was going to be either a struggle to get going or that I was just going to lose it entirely, and I did. But it got preserved, and it is with Dr. Messenger now.
Very cool. I saw you had your day of fun, your play date.
Yep. He came by, cool. did his thing. I'm not at liberty to discuss what exactly it was he was doing, but I don't think I'm not gonna, just because I'm not sure. But yeah, you got to check out the other one's doing great. Like the other one, dude, watching that thing eat. I need to take a video of it next time and send it to you. Like that thing is a beast with food. I don't think I've ever seen a snake that I've kept be as intense about eating as that little thing is, man.
Nice.
So I need to talk to Matt, figure out what's going on with his, because I will eventually would like a male.
Yeah.
So.
You popped it?
No, both look female. That tail length was pretty blatant. So.
Okay. All right. Cool.
I probably should just to make sure, but I'm weird about popping and sexing small snakes, man. Like. Yeah. Chris over in Europe told me with the cyan, he's like, yeah, after they have their first shit, I pop them. I'm like, dude, how do you pop those things and not just snap them in half? Like, they're so tiny.
Yeah. Oh. I've seen some horror stuff too, man. I've seen some people like go to do the speed bump trick with a boa. You know what I'm talking about? Where you squeeze and you pull, and you can feel the speed bump of the hemipenes. And I watched someone pull too hard, and they deglove the tail, and it's horrible. I'm not about it. Like the baby wrinkles, I put them in a clear deli cup, and held it above my head to kind of look at the vent and look at the tail and everything, because it's pretty easy to tell on a rink when they're of size, but those babies, it's still hard. So I assumed I had a pair, and I was in the room the other day with my new lady friend, and she was saying, she's like, what if it's not a boy? What if it's a girl? And I was like, well, that would be fantastic, you know? But so now every time I look at the baby, I'm like, is that a boy? Is it a girl? Is it a boy? Is it a girl? You know, and part of that's the fun. You know what I mean? It's like, I've never had children, but I imagine that it is a real thought-provoking thing of whether or not you want to know the sex of the baby, you know? But I understand why those people say, I don't want to know until it comes out. And I kind of feel the same way, like with this baby. I'm like, I don't know what it is. You know, I don't have any other babies on hand to reference, you know?
That male Jansen I shed, and I wish I had taken a picture because those plugs are huge.
Really?
It's like, good God.
Oh, did the Nauta throw plugs at all or no? Are we still on that he's a boy?
I think so, yeah. I'm pretty sure he is.
Okay. I couldn't remember. But
I think so. I can't keep up anymore.
Yeah, right.
He's a beast too.
He is.
I had to clean his cage the other day, and it straight up took me anywhere between 10 and 15 minutes to get him out. And then it took me another 5 or so to get him out of the Cambro rack because I put him in there while I cleaned because I had to take everything out and put it all back until I get some cypress mulch in there or something. And
look, do you not have a snake hook?
I do, but dude, I have nothing but like the shorter ones. I don't have any like full size ones. And which is fine.
You just ordered Venom Life gear.
I haven't gotten them yet.
Oh, okay.
Still waiting. The Clarkson ones were pre-orders, so they're all going to ship together, I assume.
Okay.
So I haven't gotten those yet, but yeah, he just like they're stupid strong for being so thin. He like angers himself onto something, and then he just sits there ready to go.
Yeah. That'll happen.
But I was breaking a sweat just trying to freaking get him in and out, man.
You gotta just start hooking the front, and then just start tickling the back.
It's not that simple.
Tickle the back.
I was using 2 hooks. You tap his tail, he doesn't even care. He's like, whatever. Which is weird because the Cyanea, you touch their tail, they hate it. The Jansenite, you touch their tail, they don't care. They don't do anything. It doesn't make them move any faster. It doesn't make them go anywhere. They're like, whatever. It's almost like they have no feeling. That scrub, if he's on the run and you touch his tail, he freaks out. If he's planted on something, he does not care.
We'll train you.
Damn scrubs.
We have plenty of time before Daytona for me to teach you how to handle a arboreal snake.
Thank you.
I'll bring multiple tools and
like the chondros and stuff. It's easy because you tap their tail. That's like their lifeline. Like they don't like anything touching that. So you want them to go somewhere, you tap them. But
dude, we're gonna teach you how to double hook and get you double hooking stuff in no time.
It's hard to double hook when it's an arboreal Boyd. That's also like
no, 5 feet. It's easy. You get them to grab onto one hook. Then you tease and tickle and direct with the other hook, and then all of a sudden you got a snake popsicle. You know?
Well, if I had the venomous etiquette videos on YouTube to teach me how to do these things, I would have probably been able to handle it. But because I don't know when we're ever going to get another episode because we're too busy worrying about the intro.
Burn.
I just have to, I guess, learn from Craigslist or something.
Oh my God. There's some guys on YouTube you can learn from.
I was double hooking and it was pointless. He did like.
I know it's literally the snake made
like
of
Velcro, man. Yeah.
Took the words out of my mouth.
I thought Amazons were bad. Amazons don't hold a candle to scrubs, man. At least this one.
Yeah, because I feel like Amazons, they do that falling thing too. Like they'll just be like, whoop, and just fall over. Scrubs don't do that. Scrubs have their own gimbal.
Yeah.
Scrubs literally
gravity does not work on those things.
Yeah. It's because I was inverted. That's the problem. Is you're not.
He was so calm. He's so chill. Here's a picture of him crawling over my head.
You're not playing the Top Gun soundtrack while taking the scrub out. That's why.
Exactly. If I took him out and tried to put him on my head, he'd probably take out one of my eyeballs.
Dude, I really would love. I'm really tempted to, when I come up to see you in August. I kind of want to take that snake out and see if it's all just cage defense. And like, if you really put hands on that animal, if it would really be like, oh, you got me. All right.
From my experience so far, I don't think that's the case. You have him out, and he's pretty much pissed the whole time.
Just got to give him a reason not to be.
I don't think that's how that works.
You got to think happy thoughts. Happy thoughts.
Oh, that's all.
It's like fairy dust with teeth.
Oh, so one other thing to cover was the mystery cigars. So Drew Estate has this thing they're doing where they only made like 2,600 of these. They're called freestyle packs, and so it's got a small travel case, like a 5-count travel humidor, a cutter, a lighter, and then you get 3 unbanded cigars of a new blend that they're going to be releasing, I guess, next month. You have no idea what it is. So I smoked one earlier because they sent some, I guess, for the retailers' employees to try without having to get all the other stuff, which is fine. Because I need another case and cutter and lighter, like I need a hole in the head.
Right.
I tried it, and it's interesting. I think it's a Connecticut broadleaf Maduro flavor-wise. It seems very number 9-ish. Maybe like somewhere in between like the Undercrown Maduro and the number 9. Like if there was an in-between between those two, I think that's where that one would fall. They're not releasing like any information about it yet. So I guess they're getting these things out there, letting everybody smoke them. And then I guess they'll be revealing what it is. It's not bad. It's not great, but it's a decent cigar. Like I said, I think it's a Connecticut broadleaf just based on the flavor and just reminds me of a number 9. So they only made like 2,600 of these things. We got put on the list of people that have them. So we've had people calling from all over the country the last couple of days trying to get their hands on some. And they're giving away like a freaking dirt bike and some other stuff in the raffle.
How many did they allocate per store?
I don't even know how many we ended up to begin with. I want to say it was probably only 10 or 15, I think.
No, that's all for your company or for each store?
I don't know what other stores got. I'd imagine some stores got more and some got less, just given, it's going to be more sales dependent.
Don't you guys have 2 or 3 stores?
We have 2.
Okay, so you got 15 and 15 or 15 for both stores?
No, I think it was 15 for both stores. I think. I don't know for sure. I just know the one box that I was pulling stuff out of had like maybe 10 in there, so there may have been another one.
It's called the Drew Estate Mystery Box?
The Freestyle.
Freestyle, okay. And do you have an MSRP or no?
It was $47.99, so you get all that stuff.
Okay.
With the raffle ticket. $50. It's not a bad deal.
All right, I'm gonna call my place tomorrow and find out if they have it.
Yeah, if you go on the Drew Estate website, it'll show you what stores have it, and we're literally one of 3 stores in South Carolina that got it. So I don't know what it's going to be like down there. I'm looking right now. Let's see: Tampa, Daytona, Orlando.
Here, share the screen.
Share your screen?
Yeah. All right.
Johnny, you totally need to be at Daytona, man. You can hang out with us.
Yeah, you do, man. We'll hang out. Where would it be? Summer Takedown? Okay.
I don't know. Events.
Where do you... Events.
Bum, bum, bum.
Oh, these are actual events. This is not like
releases. Yeah, there's They gotta have it on that list though, because they're gonna do like a digital release thing when they do the drawing.
Virtual sales.
It must be that summer takeover thing though. No? Yeah, it's on the summer takeover page.
I'm going.
I think.
You're the rat.
Gross.
There it is.
I'm sorry, You're the Rat was not a good cigar.
Freestyle Live.
Everyone wanted it, and I don't know why. It was $20 I'll never get back. I don't know. I was just on the page. Or if you go to the search thing and look up Freestyle.
Where is the search thing?
The header menu. Freestyle Live 2021. Apparently it's an ultra premium cigar, which makes me wonder if it's something Liga related. And like I said, the wrapper looked pretty high quality. Like it looked like it was on the level of Liga stuff. I just don't know exactly what's going on with it.
So it's May 6th is the actual live.
That's when they're doing the thing.
Okay, but the stores will have it before then.
Yeah, all the stores should have it now.
All right, participating retailers. I'm going to go slow so people can actually see this.
Florida's like halfway down.
People can pause it if they want.
I agree, Scott. He said he wants to go to Daytona. Someone talk to organizers and say we need more international guests.
Yeah.
Do a whole talk
100%.
on Night Tigers.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
All right. Smoking Boynton. Nice. Smoking Margate. That's good. That's by me. Awesome. Yeah. Wow. Well, that sucks. My shop isn't on there. Damn. Oh, well. It looks like I'm going to the Smoke Inn.
There's Buford Tobacco, though. Yeah. We were literally one of 3 stores in South Carolina that got them. Wait,
where does Buford Tobacco? I missed it.
It's past Florida. Scroll down. They're not in alphabetical order for some reason.
Oh, okay.
Those psychopaths. There it is. On the right. Up.
There it is.
Up.
Boom.
Zing. You know.
Nice.
1100 Carteret Street, son. That's where I get all my packages delivered. Because I know someone's always going to be there, and I don't have to worry about my crackhead neighbors stealing shit.
Nice.
Got to the point where I get snakes and stuff sent there, and Raj was like, dude, don't be pulling them out and taking pictures during hours. So I was like, I got to make sure they're okay. Because he could see the carpet and stuff. He's like, the carpet, like the floor, and he's like, man, why are you taking snakes out of the shop?
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
I always like it. Like if I'm doing a trade or something with friends, I have a wooden hot box that's a travel box, and it has an aluminum handle on top, and I spray painted the whole thing black, and then I cut out the old Cobra Commander logo from G.I. Joe and spray painted that red on the side, and it says in red, stencil letters, it says danger venomous reptiles, because that's the Florida law. It has to say danger venomous reptiles. And there's a big old padlock on the front. And my coworkers, they'll see it in the box in the back of the office. They'll be like, what's that? I'll be like, I don't know, but don't touch it. They're like, no, really, man, what's in there? I was like, nothing, it's empty. And all of a sudden,
I usually don't even tell people. I got some regulars that actually care, and I'll be like, yeah, man, I got something new today. And they'll be like, oh, let me see it. But for the most part, it just stays in the back room until I go home.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I don't bring, venomous snakes to work. It's an empty box for me to go do my business after hours, but still, it's always funny seeing people's reaction,
Mike asked, are there any non-Repticon shows besides Daytona in the Florida, SC, NC area this year? Are they still doing that south of the border show?
I don't believe so, no. Not
And
right
then
now.
I think there was a new one happening up near Myrtle, I thought. I saw something for it recently. Yeah. I'm starting to notice there's a lot of like privately held shows now starting to pop up, which is cool. I mean, it's nice to see that people are taking the initiative to do that.
Yeah, they're trying to think outside the box. I like it.
Does FWC require you guys to have like a label in Spanish as well?
No.
Or does it just have to say English, like, venomous reptile?
No, it has to say, by law, it must say danger. It must say danger, venomous reptile, or reptiles if it's plural, if there's more than one. And then the container must be a container inside a container. And the container itself, that is containing the animal, must have the English name, in common name, and the scientific name, and the quantity value within. So obviously it has to be locked. Obviously, it can't be. You can't be able to stick like a finger in there or anything. It has to be very, very tiny air holes, that kind of thing. So a lot of times for shipping stuff out, we'll go to Home Depot and Scott's saying they use converted drink coolers, and that's a brilliant idea. Good insulation, A lot of times what we'll do is we'll get tackle boxes or tool boxes from Home Depot that are real thick. It's hard plastic, but you can't bend it or bow it. It's very rigid.
Yeah.
We'll drill 4 or 5 air holes, and then you can zip tie it or put padlocks on it, and we'll Delta Dash venomous like that. So it actually saves a lot of money on the weight of the freight because it's not a wooden crate. And that rhymed, and I didn't even try to do it that way.
Nice.
Yeah.
The new Slim Shady.
Right? We're at the 2-hour mark, my friend.
We are.
We are.
I think it's a good ending point. I think we got all the main points we wanted that people requested we cover. We could talk about isopods, but
that's not happening.
The short and sweet of my thought is I'm amazed that they've become what they have, because to me they will never be anything other than cleaner crew.
Look, I think they're super cool. I can see how a small kid who's getting into bugs or getting into herps would find them very interesting. I think it's
appeal.
It's a gateway pet. I think it's a fantastic gateway pet. If a child can take the time and the responsibility to throw in some lettuce and throw in some fish food, spray some water in there for them, I think that's great. And hopefully later on they can, upgrade to a ball python or a leopard gecko or something. I think that's great. But for me, they're just cleaner bugs. So,
especially the rubber duckies that are insanely expensive.
Yeah, it's crazy. So
I get it. They look like a little rubber ducky, but oh my god.
So I mixed in powder blues and powder oranges because let's face it, they're the same thing. And Henry says to me, "Hey man, if you're lucky, you'll get piebalds." And I was like, "Okay, whatever." And I went in there. There's freaking piebalds in there now. So I thought that was super cool.
It's seeing them at shows. It's just nuts, dude. Like you see all the different varieties now that you can get in different species. They inhabit different niches and it's just. I never would have guessed in 1,000 years isopods would be such a thing now, and that people would be so into them, and that there's full-on books, giant books written about them. Like the books that you and I would buy about rat snakes and stuff. There's isopod books. It's
right,
Lord.
Well, and Henry says, the tricolors are even more expensive, but it's the dairy cows, the rubber duckies, whatever it is. It's amazing to think that all of us, every single person who's watching and or listening to this, grew up catching quote unquote roly-polies as a kid, not even knowing what an isopod was. And here we are, 10, 20, 30, 60 years later, and we're keeping them on purpose with different localities. Yeah, right.
Het scaleless.
Yeah, het scaleless. Jesus. All right. On that note, thank you for watching, everyone. Thank you for listening. Remember, this is brought to you by the fine folks at Puget Sound Pythons.
I'm finally getting the pointing direction thing right.
Yeah, I never will. So
it's the opposite. It's mirrored.
It's mirrored. So I gotta go like that. Oh, I gotta go like that.
Yeah,
That's brilliant.
Our small brains have figured it out.
You know, it just occurred to me that the wall is on the opposite side of the screen. Oh, it's late at night.
Yeah, because when I move the camera, I almost always move it the wrong direction, and it ends up showing you my actual garage, and people might realize that this is not actually a wooden wall.
Well, I like it when like Katie opens the garage door and like the wooden wall like moves,
yeah,
from the pressure of the room.
There is, in fact, a wooden wall behind it in the form of hurricane panels for the windows and stuff.
Nice. It's good.
Nothing but the best production value here from my
garage. No expense.
That's right.
All right, kids.
Y'all.
We'll see you soon.
We will. Thanks for hanging out.
Good night.
See you later.